A hook is just a question mark. Okay, that's literally it. And so you need to just make it so that a person is able to understand like what the question is that they're being presented with in the first like 3 or 4 seconds.
And that might just be
and then
their own internal question of just what is happening, right?
Yeah,
that can work. Yeah,
and why do you think a question mark is shaped like that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's a hook. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 549 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the weekly podcast for indie game developers. I'm Seth and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Adam the Miscellaneous Programmer.
I'm saying brother East.
Yeah. And we are Butterscotch Shenanigans, and today is November 21, 2025. Let's continue our conversation about marketing. So if you missed last week's episode, we kind of laid the stage for why you should be integrating marketing into the development cycle of your indie game from day one, with a specific eye toward short form video content and streamability and relatability and all that stuff. And so if you haven't listened to
go
that
watch
episode,
that.
go watch that. And today we're going to talk about
How though?
how to think about shorts, how to make them, how to interpret them, what we've seen so far, and then like stuff that we maybe are theorizing about, but we're not quite sure about, because oftentimes these algorithms can be a bit of a black box. So we'll just kind of get into it. So
Yeah, as for context, we're old to the game of making and selling games. We've been doing this for more than a decade. We are new to the game of using short-form video content to do it, but have already been seeing success with, probably by the time people listen to this, we got a video with 1 million views on it, or close to, and a few with over 100,000. And so we feel like we're finding something that works.
And in between episodes, we just came up with another idea of the next
That's
short
true,
to
yeah.
make. So I mean, we're just going to keep pumping them out because, well, they're very fun to make, honestly, but also they're super useful. So I think let's first talk about just how do you make these shorts? What's the process? What are the tools that you use? We'll start there.
Yeah, we'll start on I think the nitty gritty stuff first. So one, we're using CapCut. Don't use fucking Adobe Premiere. I'm be honest. Okay, I've been using that.
Let's be honest. For once.
Been using that for years for all of our trailers and stuff, and then it's not good for making short form stuff. And the reason is because CapCut.
But on the plus side, Sam, it's expensive.
Yeah,
you're right.
And
I
Adobe
should forget about that.
And Adobe will harass you
the worst company that exists
with emails. So it's pretty. There's some upsides.
There's some upsides. CapCut is made by ByteDance, so the same company that made TikTok. So it's made to be able to easily make short form stuff, right? And so we use the desktop version. It's great. You can find sound effects. There's basically just stuff that you just grab and just chuck into your video. And this is actually
administratively, it's a shit show. Trying to set up an account and figure out
the website. It is not
Teams work. The website's bad. It took me. I was unable to log in for 1 million. It's a mess to get in there. But once you're in there,
I'll let you figure that out. Because that's getting to pay for it is weird. But you get a pro trial. It comes with them.
I think our main advice is don't try to have a team. Try to have a team.
Don't use their Teams feature. Just get a pro subscription for yourself.
I think in our case, some of us were only able to get the pro subscription through PayPal.
Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, various other payment methods they just wouldn't work. So if you're struggling with that, maybe try using a PayPal account or something.
Yeah. Again, it's a mess, but it's a mess. It's cheap, and once you get in there, it's very
useful. So CapCut's a tool, and I'm not going to go into any details about how to use it because you could fucking figure that out. That's just Google it. Okay.
There must be plenty of good content about how to do it.
That's the most useful tool for it, in my opinion. And a big part of the reason for that is because it does the auto captioning stuff that you see on most short form content. Since a lot of people do watch that stuff without volume on, right? And it's also just kind of engaging to have the text written,
honestly, I like it.
It's useful.
Yeah.
And so that they have auto caption generation and all sorts of templates you can drop on those. So those are the major things we were thinking about. And it's been very fun to use. It's way more fun to use. And
there's just one other thing. CapCut has overlays for the UIs for TikTok and YouTube Shorts because if you ever watch a YouTube short or TikTok video, you notice that, like, there's a bunch of shit in the way, actually. That, like,
Shit
it's
over here,
overlaid onto the
bottom.
video. It's like the name of the channel. It's like a bunch of icons for like discussions and
Yep.
descriptions or whatever. And if you make your video not realizing that there's a bunch of parts of the screen that are actually obscured,
Mhm.
then you might actually make a crappy video that people can't see what's going on.
Yeah,
You
and we've
put
all
stuff
experienced
there,
this
you
if
know?
you're watching that content where
Yep.
you'll see a video and then the description on the video is overlaying all of
Captions
the
or
text
something.
that's on
Yep.
screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So
you
they
can,
have really helpful stuff
CapCut
on it.
has those overlays, so you can tell what where
Yeah.
that is.
Very easy to use, and again, part of this idea of from the last video of having this be part of your cycle, like your dev cycle. Then, when we were putting together some of the first shorts, we didn't have sound effects, we didn't have slow mo, and some of these other things happening when like the final hit of an enemy happened in one of these matches, like the finale, like I won, punching a guy. The kind of visual prototype of that actually came from having to make a short. And I was like, well, I need to add some more tension here, in this moment of like the final punch of this battle. So I just threw it in the slow mo basically, and then
In the video,
threw
yeah.
in the video in CapCut, and then threw some like generic ass sound effects that they let you just use right onto it to get the vibe. And then we took that. We're like, hey, let's do this.
Sam brought it to
actually
me,
good.
and he's like, "Can you like do what I did in this video, but
Yeah,
just like
'cause it's awesome.
code up this effect that I made as just like
Right.
that's how battles end."
Yeah, so it's also a prototyping tool as you're
Yep.
making stuff. Yep.
Super useful. So so using CapCut, it's really, really great. Step 2 then of course is like having we're going to talk about specifically about YouTube channels. So TikTok is a whole other thing.
We have not cracked that one.
Haven't cracked it at all. The content that tends to do well there is like it just has a very different vibe to it. It's a little more, we describe it as like the id.
It's a little
It's
more
more-
brain rot. It's just
Yeah.
like the
Kind of
shortest of
emotion-driven,
short
weird shit.
form. Yeah, thoughtless.
Yeah. So we will be tiptoeing into that space a little bit now that we feel like we got a bit of a handle on the YouTube side, to see what we could figure out. But this is not about TikTok. This is about YouTube Shorts specifically. And the reason being that YouTube Shorts has a bit more of like a authentic like dev to community style vibe to the videos. A lot of the videos that have done really well, and also ones that we actually base some of ours on. If you look at the Mega Bunk creator, some of his shorts, and again looking at some of those shorts from people who are referenced in Jonas High Rollers interviews, you just go look at their channels, go see their shorts.
Yeah, that's probably the kind of the best initial piece of design advice, right? Is go find other people who are doing it, who are making the kind of stuff that you think you would be able to make,
Yep.
and see what on their channels, because you can just see the view counts right there, so you can see like what's performing well.
So-
yeah.
Yeah, so quite literally what we did was we took essentially like just looked at how those videos were structured and then just rip the structure. So in our case, one of the best formats and like the easiest format I think to start with is something along the lines of just saying, my game had a problem. That's it. You just say, my game had a problem. My indie game had a problem. And then state what the problem is, obviously while there's something cool looking happening, show it, and then reveal sort of like what the path to the solution was. And in the most ideal cases, there's a twist after that where you didn't realize something was going to happen because you solved this problem. And now this other thing has happened that was like a completely separate problem, or that was like very, very funny.
Yeah. So it's all
So
about so something that we kind of notice as a comparison point is we make YouTube shorts out of some of our podcast clips, which don't really do that well because it doesn't have that format.
Yeah.
It's just us talking about a topic, and the format that works well at Sam's talking about is essentially immediately open up a tension point, which is a question, which is something that needs to be resolved, where the viewer's like, oh, I want to know how this is going to work itself out.
Yep.
And then by the end of the video, it works itself out, right? The only time we've had one of our YouTube shorts do well from the podcast is a joke.
Yep.
Where it started with the initial joke, and then of course it ends with the punchline, and like that's exactly the same format, and that's why jokes work. Is it creates this curiosity and tension about how this situation is going to resolve itself, and people stick around. Right?
And it was a knock joke, which means people knew it was a joke already because of the format.
Well, no, it was the one about the QA tester walks into a bar.
Oh, walks into a bar.
Well, I think
it walks into a bar.
But
So either way,
it's a
it's a
familiar
known
joke
format versus
yeah.
because if somebody
Right.
if we had that clip of us joking, which is different from telling a joke, right?
People don't know
then
you're joking.
People don't know
so-
that a joke is happening until they get to
Right.
the end, and now it's too late. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you need the hook. Like you need something at the beginning that gets people engaged and invested in seeing how the thing is going to resolve.
Yeah,
itself.
and specifically, again, people I think confuse the idea of a hook, like visually with what you need to have happen. A hook is just a question mark. Okay, that's literally it. And so you need to just make it so that a person is able to understand like what the question is that they're being presented with in the first like 3 or 4 seconds,
And that might just be
and then
their own internal question of just what is happening, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
that can
that's-
work. Yeah, that
And why
can
do you
work.
think a
Right.
question mark is shaped like that? You know?
Exactly.
It's
just
a hook.
So you open with that with basically some kind of question for your audience, right? And that's again, it's not you ask your question. It's just saying, I had this thing.
Yeah,
happen.
it's you casting a question into their mind. So what you're trying to figure out is
Yeah.
what question do I want them to be asking, and how do I make them ask that? Right.
And then you just structure the whole video around that. And the ones that we've seen do better are over 30 seconds on YouTube. I think a lot of it comes down to the ones that have done the best tend to be closer to like 45 to a minute. And a big part of that is because the algorithm is trying to balance essentially, how long do people stick, or how many people stick on your video versus how long do they watch, right? And it's this tension point, right? Because they want people to just be engaging with engaging content. That's kind of the short of it, right? But that can mean two different things. That can mean like nobody swiped away because this video is 15 seconds only, and it's like very intensely engaging the whole time, but then they don't watch it again. So it's only 15 seconds, right? Versus if you have like 80% of people stick around, but your video is like a minute, that's actually a much better thing overall for the algorithm to care about in the context like YouTube. So what we found balance wise then is about this about around like a 45-second duration, and having that open hook at the front, typically in the form of just man, the game had a problem. And it'll be clear, it could be a completely it's not like a real problem. You're not like, I couldn't figure out how to code this. No. That's like in the weeds. We're talking about
It has to be an
problems that
interesting
are
problem.
interesting
Real
for
or
a
imagined.
player, right?
Yeah.
Not for other devs, for a player. So you say like, I put this enemy in the game and like they completely fucked up the balance. Now we're on the story about like how you restored balance, to your game.
Yeah, but it could also be just something that is inherently both relatable but unusual. So we were looking at what was the fishing game?
How to Fish
How to Fish
by
right?
Dazzle Games. Yes, they're
Yeah,
doing
and
very
it's-
well on TikTok. Which like a slightly different format, but yeah.
But if it opens up with just like I added knives to my fishing game, right? Which is
Yeah, you're
immediately like,
Yeah. What?
I'm sorry, what?
Why do you need
know?
a knife?
And then literally this video, which has like 3 million views on TikTok,
Yeah.
is just like he reels in a fish and then he just gets out a knife. It's
Well,
a
no,
first person
no.
view.
No, he whips the fish out of the ocean and then shoots it with a sniper rifle.
Right. Shoots
Don't
with a
forget that
sniper
part. That's
rifle.
the hook
And
part, yeah.
then he gets out a knife and
It just spins it.
he's just spinning it in his hand and never actually does anything with the knife. And it's like 15 seconds long.
Uh-huh.
3 million
views.
views, Yeah. And it's like that hook there of just like, not only like it is open with this, like, I added knives to my fishing game. We're immediately curious about that. But then right away, something fucking insane happens. And so then you're just like, okay, I'm in. Like whatever's about to happen next, I gotta see.
I wanna
where this
know. Yeah, so that's like TikTok again. Like the format there is like a bit more on that, just like really like hook and emotion driven stuff where you're just like, what the fuck is happening? Like works great. On the YouTube side, you get away. I mean, you see this like a lot of devs who are doing bigger, like more RPG games, stuff that's a more slower burn stuff. You can actually still do pretty effectively, I think, in that like a shorts format, right? Because it lets you tell a story about like how the dev process is going with regards to this feature, as long as you're keeping the lens on why this would be interesting for a player, right? So then we come up with ideas based on that. Then so again, that's just for like one format. The whole like my game had a problem, literally just one format. The other is something like kind of what Seth's talking about. It's like I added blah to my game, and then you show some like ridiculous shit because people are like, oh, I want to see blah. You don't show it right now. You say I added this to my game. And then you show it later, and people are like,
Right.
I want to see it.
But
So,
importantly, it's
yeah.
the like, I added X thing to Y game, and the X
Yeah.
and the Y are surprising
there's-
together.
right,
You
right.
know,
That works way better. Yeah, if you're like, I added swords to my game, my like fighting
my
game about
medieval
swords.
game. People are like, okay. I
Okay.
mean, yeah, like that's what goes in that game.
Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. So is there some surprise in there? So if you're looking for these content ideas, like I really do think the people who are best suited for this kind of work are the people who are making the game. Like if you're the programmer, if you're the artist, if you're the designer, you're in the best spot to see these things. And I think the way to do it is to look at some of these examples from these teams where the content has worked, right? And just ask the question like, okay, how could we make something that feels like this, that structures like this, that is a reference to this, and then just try some stuff, right? So we've tried just a bunch of different formats so far, and we'll just keep on trying different formats because
the other one too is so you have those two formats. The other one is, I think there are two more to mention. One is I got a comment on my last video that seems like it's representative of the vibe of how people are feeling about the video, right? And so you post that up and then create some kind of you get into it in some way, right? It seems to be pretty effective. And then the other one, did I lose it?
Oh, the breaking, game breaking stuff. So
game breaking.
That's probably the one, which was like basically something happened and it broke my game. So that's in the context either of like in our game, in how many dudes, there's synergies that you get, right? So that's like builds that break the game is part of the game idea, right? That's a very popular just like category of people putting together runaway synergies in like Vampire Survivors.
Should we talk about this idea that we just talked about and like
which one?
About the giant dude?
Yeah. So we'll probably put this
example.
Yeah. So we'll probably put this short together maybe the next week or two, where one of the comments that we saw from the video that just went out this morning was someone basically saying like, can you just put a horse-sized dude?
Because it was a video about horse-sized ducks, which we have in the game.
So they're like, what about like a horse-sized dude? And again, you could just be like, you could just dismiss that and be like, well, we're not going to put. It's not a game about horse-sized dudes.
Or you could make a horse-sized dude and like go through the dev effort, right?
Right. Or in our case, we were like, well, we have something approximating a horse-sized dude, and this is a funny comment. So we're like, well, how big can a dude get?
Yeah. Which is now just a more fun question. We've already got stuff that does that. And so now we can start with that comment, put it up, because that seems to be a format that works, right? And then
then we were wondering, how big can a dude get? And then it's about the process of like slowly all the stuff you can stack on a dude.
Making the biggest dude possible.
Right? Yeah. So that's what's fun about them is because they're not so serious like a trailer, there's not everything riding on them, right? In terms of like debuting them. Then you just like, you can do some weird shit and
do
not
it
care.
And send it.
See what happens.
Yeah, and what we've seen is really variable outcomes, right?
Totally.
Because we're experimenting, but the idea is that if each investment into each video is a couple hours, right, then some do well. One did really well so far. A bunch did fine. Some did poorly, right? And from each one of those, we try to figure out like what does that mean? What can we learn, if anything?
Right.
And but the cost of it's fine to have that variability. Yeah.
And so then we move, I think, from like, okay, so now you've seen some that you want to kind of parallel your structure off of. You've sat down with, I don't know, one other person on our team, been like, what would be like a funny way we could get at this idea? You put a video together and you fucking send it, right? So one is before you just send it, definitely just look a little bit on YouTube about how to title things and like put tags on things and thumbnails. The thumbnails are like a little less important for short form videos, but they still help in the form of search. And you can only make them through your phone.
Well, the thumbnails are more important for people using desktop, because if somebody's just browsing through shorts on their phone, they just swipe and just the next short comes up. On desktop, there's
they
like
pull into
homepage
search
on
results
YouTube.
actually.
Yeah. And
It's also true on
people
mobile.
will see the thumbnails there.
Yeah, on mobile, if you just pull up like YouTube Home, if you're in Shorts, you're just swiping through Shorts, you don't see thumbnails, you're just watching videos, right?
Yeah.
But if you're on YouTube homepage, you're seeing thumbnails for Shorts that you can go launch into.
Right. So they're surfaced.
It does matter. Yeah.
Yeah. So usually the structure we use is we put the video up, we schedule it for like the next day, just to let YouTube chew on it before putting it out, as opposed to during. I then go in on my phone, because you have to have the app on your phone. Go to the channel, change the thumbnail, just based on whatever's in the video. And we're not getting extra fancy with that yet, because it doesn't seem like we have to, and that would be ideal. So there's not more steps involved. And then make sure all that like metadata stuff is there. And again, there's like a bajillion tutorials already on like how to think about that. We are still figuring it out. Just look around and put some stuff together and try some things. It's not just don't put weird tags on it that like a person who is searching for that thing would be like, why the fuck is this in here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
That's
and
kinda-
actually, that's a good point. That's a common mistake people make when it comes to this stuff is I want everybody to see it. And I want the numbers to be as big as possible. And that's
My
the
game
goal.
is for everyone.
Yeah, my game is for everyone. I want to like trick it. So like I want to tag it because this thing is popular now. So I'm going to tag it with this so that shows up to right.
Only if
That's-
it is like your game is an adjacent one. It's like we tag ours with tabs, totally like our Battle Simulator, because that's a game that comes up a lot in the comments from new people watching.
You're like, oh, it's like a 2D roguelike tabs.
Yeah, so we put
We're like,
roguelike
sure,
and tabs in like the hashtags, right?
But also,
don't go
interestingly,
put it like Fortnite.
it didn't occur to us to frame the game that way until people in the comments started talking about it.
Yes,
Way, you know.
yes. So again, like how this all is cyclical with the dev process and helps inform how you're even learning how to talk about it, right? To interest someone who might be potentially interested. That's like a big part of it. So yeah, you schedule your short, you get the metadata on whatever, and then it fucking it goes. So now the question is,
But also scheduling it is important too because you want to let it, as from what we've seen and then heard from other YouTubers talking about, is you want to let it sit on your channel for a bit, not published yet, so that YouTube can finish all of its processing. Which usually that part's pretty fast, right? But YouTube seems to also do other stuff to try to figure out like what is this, right? And
Yes.
if you launch the video without it having done that yet, that seems to do
Dude,
less
just like
well,
a-
or at least the
it does
beginning
less
is
well
slower or
initially.
something.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
what we've seen is, and YouTube Shorts actually, they kind of go in like pulses and spikes.
we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get to
so
the,
we'll talk about
yeah.
that. But what we kind of see is if we upload a video and just launch it right away, it'll just sit at like 50 views for like a
Yeah.
whole day before anything
can, yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, just know that can happen. if you
Yeah.
do that.
So yeah, we typically schedule for like a day later, ideally 24 hours ish. Let YouTube chew on it. Okay. So then the thing goes live, and now you have a completely different set of questions, which is, one, is there anything to do once the thing goes live, right? And then two, what do these various bits of data coming in mean? What's important? And so and then like it basically downstream platform effects. So I want to cover those three things. So one, as far as like first things you want to do when the thing goes live, is put a pinned comment on it from you. Some stupid shit that maybe says the name of the game, maybe not, but just like, ask people. Basically, you're asking for engagement in some way with the
It's
video.
kind of like you ever see that video of that one dude dancing on a hillside by himself, and people are like,
Yes.
"Who's this
Yeah.
fucking weirdo?" And then eventually one person joins in, and then a trillion people join, right? And it's like, if there's no comments on a video,
weird.
it's weird to be the first person. But even if the poster of the video themselves has put a comment, then that just like it breaks the seal. And
Yes,
people
the
just start
difference between
pouring in.
0 and 1 is much bigger.
It's
than
massive.
1 to 2.
Yeah. So and it's like, oh, it's weird. I'm commenting on my own videos. Get over yourself. Just do it.
Everybody does it.
So you can
Yeah.
drop the name of the game there, just make a dumb joke, or ask something of the audience that's related to the video that then would provoke some commentary. And the whole point is because like if like a thing is commented on more, then YouTube's like, oh, people like talking about this, and they send it to more people. So you want to try to get some conversation going, but you have to like try it super hard. You can just be like, wish this the game on Steam, and the people will be like, cool, that works too.
And we haven't
Keep
been
mind-
getting a ton of comments on our videos. It's like a solid handful, right?
Yeah, a couple
Sure.
hundred, but like I don't know.
For the really popular ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and a big part of it is like we're not like asking for it specifically. I also don't know what exactly like the rates are. That would be good.
I think
You know?
shorts aren't commented on as much unless they're
Yeah, I think you gotta get like
really,
giant
really popular.
numbers.
Yeah.
But yeah, and keep in mind that the shorts don't actually have hyperlinks in them. So if you put like the whole link to your Steam page, it doesn't really matter. I don't put it in the comment anymore because people can't actually like grab that piece specifically with their
Yeah, what
text
we
controller on the
found is no matter what we do to promote the game through links in our shorts, when we go back to Steam and look at our traffic, it's coming from Google searches. So it's people figuring out what the name of the game is, and
Or
then they
Steam
go to
searches,
Google,
but, yeah.
and then they search for how many dudes, and then the Steam page pops up there, and then they just go through it that
Yeah.
way. So.
So we also found that just content wise that we're still figuring out how exactly to do it, but like including in the video itself a like go wish list it on Steam, even though it sounds like not a big deal to put like right at the end of the video, it so thoroughly cuts off retention right at the end that we just stopped doing it and saw a big enough boost in the video's performance to still get the same number of wish lists if that makes sense. Like without a call to action.
Well, it's more, right? Because like I think our
Oh yeah, it's more once the video like really goes.
yeah
Yeah.
exactly
Yeah, right. Yeah, it reduces the conversion rate by a lot, but increases the view rate by more than that.
Way
So-
more than
probably drops the conversion rate by at least 80%.
I think you probably, I think you could get
Yeah.
double if you could somehow get an ask in the video itself. It's just very hard to do.
And we have seen
some.
some of the really successful.
Yeah, you see it like
videos
Megabox videos. He does really
Yeah,
good.
other people seem to have done it. And it's going to depend so much on the specifics of the video and
But it's sneaky,
how
right?
you do it.
Because like
Yeah.
like in the Megabonk video, he'll be like, I have this problem with my indie game, and then like as he says that, it clips over to like him like typing Megabonk in the Steam search,
Yeah.
and then like
Mhm.
mousing over Megabonk. So it's just like right there in the background is like 2 seconds, and he never like stops
Yeah.
the video to say go to Steam or it's on Steam
Yeah.
or whatever. It
I
just,
think that's the main thing is like when you're doing the verbal call to action and like that takes some time and stuff versus just literally showing
That
Steam.
is
showing
showing
the
the game
title,
on Steam,
showing the Steam page,
showing
something.
anything. Yeah.
So we're still figuring out how to get like that overall conversion higher. Even so, like being able to just get the video shown to like 1 million people, I mean that's gonna do something. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully.
hopefully. So content wise, that's kind of like a little piece. But then what we're looking for once we post a video, we've got our pinned comment up there, and we're just kind of like responding to comments as they come in, if they come in. Now we want to ask the question like, okay, how do we know how this is going to do early? Right? Can we tell? Is there any way to tell if something's going to work? And the answer is like kind of, which is you look at 2 metrics on the back end. One is what they call it like swipe away rate. It's in the engagement little tab there. And that just tells you like on YouTube, this is only on YouTube Shorts. I looked on TikTok. TikTok does not have this. So retention numbers and shit look completely different because YouTube's doing this thing where they basically say, we're going to remove from the pool the people who swipe away in the first 3 seconds in terms of your like long-term engagement data on this thing because those people didn't want to watch it. So that's like a separate problem, not related to how good the video is, right? In terms of like once people are watching it, do they watch the whole thing? Two
So
separate questions.
they call them engaged viewers versus just viewers.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you end up having a swipe away rate, which typically what we're looking for there is something around, ideally it's around like 70% and above.
So when you say swipe away rate, you mean the opposite, which is
Sorry.
the
Yes.
stick around rate. It's like people who stay, right?
Yeah, we have a stick around rate. Yeah. So
Yeah.
around 70% of people, if we get one of those for our videos, it's like good, right? That means that depending on how long the video is and how good the engagement is all the way through, we could probably count on it getting like 50,000, 100,000 views.
And we've done okay with like a high 60%. We've done okay, but we haven't.
Yes.
But none of those have done like really, really well. But
Yeah,
the
'cause
it's like
again,
the high
that's-
70s seem to always do pretty well.
High 70s do well. And then once you crack the 80% stick rate, right? 80% of people who the thing just shows up in front of stick around for at least for like 3 or 4 seconds. That's where you get into the territory of being able to have like 1 million views or something like that on the video. That's where it starts like really kind of actively pumping.
But also, it's not guaranteed because like we have had videos that have cracked that just like they hit like 20,000 views and then just suddenly stopped. But the thing is like, they might pick up again later for reasons we'll talk about.
Yes.
But it's so like don't be discouraged if you have those really high engagement numbers, then you're doing it right. And sometimes the algorithm just hits
Takes a while.
video weird, or takes
Yep.
a while, or whatever. But just aim for that. Like you.
Yeah,
need
it's
people
the thing to
stick
remember
around.
always about short form video content is it's never about one video, ever,
No.
right?
Yep.
It's always about the whole library of videos that you're constructing. It's about getting, on average, better results over time, but
Yes.
not better
better
results,
each time. Yes,
Yeah.
correct. Yep, 100%. So what we're looking for then is like if when we first launch a video, it'll go out and YouTube does like a little test. So it'll send it to like 1,000 people typically, sometimes less, and just be like, what do the numbers look like? And you'll see the data basically immediately. You don't see the total retention graph where it like shows you dips in like time, right? But you do see average view duration. So like, do people typically watch like most of this thing? And you do see that stick rate, right, for the video pretty quick, like within like an hour. And so when we see that, if I see like the stick rate is already at 70% or above, then I'm like, good, because it actually goes up over time, which is interesting. I think YouTube sort of figures out who to give it to.
Which makes sense because if they send it to basically like 1,000 randos, it's like we don't know who this is for. We'll just sample data. Once they figure it out, they start to show the video more to people who they think would like it. So
Yes.
that means the stick around rate
goes
goes
up.
up. Over
It'll
time.
typically go up around like 5%. I mean, I think it's like 5-6% in some of the videos we've seen. And so the vampire one that we put out started at 80% or like 79.6% or something. It was right on the line of what we've been trying to hit. And then it crept up over, I think it's like 84, 5%, something like that.
Yeah, this is the one that's nearly hit 1 million
Yes.
views.
And the one we just put out this morning, which is about the horse-sized duck, is starting at 80%. So by the time this video comes out, I'll know, did it manage to do the thing we need to do? And its average view duration is most of the video. It's like 85%, something like that. It's a long video. So those are both really promising signs. At least that's basically where like, did you do a good job making a video? Okay, like that's sort of.
And the
you can
rest
answer
is
the question.
now, it's kind of like the idea of like, you can make a game where the quality of the game is worth game of the year. Can you make a game of the year game? No, because it depends on whether games are coming out and
Correct.
politics and all kinds of random stuff, right? But your job is to make it worthy of that, right? And so with
Yes.
YouTube Short, same deal. Is your job is to make it so that it's going to hit those metrics. And then once you're doing that, you've done what you can. Right?
Then you
Yeah,
pray,
and now you
pray
win.
to the algorithm gods. Yep.
Yeah, and one of the things that I couldn't find, which I do want to share, as far as like when would you expect things to happen was kind of the question, right? So you do have this initial, YouTube will send the short out to like 1,000 people or something like that. So you'll see that, and usually it'll just fucking park. I mean, it'll just literally the hose turns off, especially if you've got
If you
you're
watch
a
the
new channel.
graph, it'll be like up, and it's like a reverse hockey stick, right? Like it'll go
Yep.
up and then suddenly stop, and then it's just flat. Like they
Yep.
just literally stop showing it to people.
Yeah.
Sometimes for days or weeks at a time.
And what's happening during that window is typically that it's basically that YouTube's then crunching it, right, and being like, okay, we got our 1,000 data points. What should we do with this now, right? And trying to answer those questions. So that's where you get your initial early metrics. So you can just say, based on that initial thing that happens, you can be like, okay, I did a good job or not. After that, typically what we've seen is that the shorts that have done well for us typically do so in the first 4 days. That's it. So if you got a short that you put out, even if it has high engagement numbers, if it doesn't do anything in like 4 days, it's either just been ignored by the algorithm or it's just not going to happen for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Move
Sometimes
on.
it's taken like an entire 24 hours before anything started to happen.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then it did well. Right.
Yeah. And so sometimes like that kind of crunching period is a bit longer. And so what we do see though is, as far as like rates, is usually you have the first pulse. There's like a little lull while it's figuring something out. You'll have a second pulse, which again, if the video's metrics in that first bit are good, the second pulse is bigger. So that's like another 10,000 views, 20,000 views, maybe if you're lucky. And then there's a freeze again where it's waiting. And then there'll be a third pulse, which oftentimes is very fucking large. Yeah. And that's like, it's suddenly getting 20,000 views an hour. That's the max we've seen so far is I think it's 20,000, right? 20,000 views an hour, something like that. I'm pretty sure that was like the
Yeah, I don't remember
per
seeing
hour
it.
graph.
Yeah,
It
It
didn't
would have
yeah,
had to have been about that high to get as many views as we got.
yeah,
so.
the one we have that has that's approaching 1 million, it didn't like just like get 1 million views.
Correct.
It happened over a few days.
2.5, 3
It just
days.
kind of
and,
like
and with different rates. Like if you're looking at the graph, you can see just changes in rates, right? And so that's basically, we don't know what's going on, right? But we know what this is algorithmic stuff. This is the algorithm basically deciding. I've
Open the tab.
computed something about who is left to show this to, or I want to change the audience who this is being shown to, right? Each one of these marks some kind of a change what the algorithm has decided to do with that content. And sometimes, like we've also seen with pretty successful videos in the past, where it'll like be doing really well, and then suddenly flatline, right?
And this is done.
And then it's just done now forever, and nothing ever happens again, right?
I try to think about that as like it's a zero-sum game, right? So when YouTube shows your video to somebody, there's a trillion other videos that it's choosing not to show. And so your video might have pretty good, it might be like in the 60s or in the low 70s in terms of engagement and all that stuff, but it's still competing with all these other videos. And so at some point it's possible that like it's going well. Maybe some other video comes along
Just happens to be doing better at that point.
that
you know?
happens. The YouTube is like, all right, well, you're out. Bring in the
Which
next
also,
one, right?
we have seen too that a video that wasn't really doing anything, then Like, because even for videos that we made a long time ago, before we started like really trying to figure this out, we'll just suddenly see. We'll be like, "What the hell?" Like all of a sudden, this thing got
out of
because
nowhere.
it's like there was an opening, and YouTube was like, "Oh, well, we got this one laying around.
Get this one just dusty
throw
one.
that in there."
Yeah. So we had a Levelhead video that did like okay, and then literally 26 days after having published it, where it was just getting like 3 views a day, it got 26,000 views in a day. And we were like, why though? And then it just stopped.
Something came up on the algorithm, and it just slotted it in there.
Yeah, and so there is a lot of variability, but I do think the first 4 days, like if it's going to be a good video, I feel like typically it'll pop in the first 4 days. At least that's what. But it is. But there's random bullshit happening.
It is very random, and it's random in the sense that like there's the metrics are doing stuff, right? But there's so many things that we don't have any access to, black box things about how YouTube behaves that make it effectively random, right? There's just no way to know. And what we're doing when we're evaluating this stuff is just trying to guess at some of those things to be like, okay, well, we've seen this pattern where like we're talking about these spikes or these little these boluses that happen that are not always the same every time, but are a really similar shape and scale, right? So far. We've also seen that when we have something do pretty well, like break 100,000 views, we see splash effects on the rest of the channel's content, right? And it's very likely that YouTube is also adjusting things based on your whole channel's performance, right?
Yes,
over time,
and
based on your channel's audience, right? And so,
which is why we split the podcast off of our normal channel, because again, like I mentioned earlier, our podcast shorts don't do that well because they don't follow any of the. We're just putting them out there. You know,
this is the first series of shorts we put out since we split the podcast channel off. Right, it actually happened like midday on one of them,
and they seem to be doing.
They do better.
They seem to be doing better because there's also there's probably like some channel level thing where basically YouTube tries to figure out like who is this channel for? Because when you first launch a video, if they just look at every video in a vacuum, then there's a lot more data they'll have to figure out how to gather to try to figure out who to show it to or whatever. But if it's coming from a channel that always posts, the same types of videos or videos on the same subject matter, then it builds up in the background kind of like a pre-existing bias toward like, okay, lots of people watch videos from this channel. This channel is about this thing.
Trustworthy, basically, right?
Yeah. And so we found that like by sort of bifurcating our audience between like podcast listeners and people interested in our games, which there's overlap, but it is a Venn diagram.
A little bit,
But it's not a lot of. I mean, you can see this in the stats too, right? Because when we had the podcast on the main channel, then we would see that we would have a decent number of views, like 500 or whatever, which is not a lot, but for the podcast that we're just kind of randomly putting up there, right? We see like 500 per episode or whatever. But if you look at the actual engagement rate, it's really low. Right. It's basically because people were being shown, because we had 15,000 subscribers or whatever. So people were being shown the podcast and they'd be like, this isn't for me. Right.
Those subscribers basically came from our game trailers.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was the wrong audience. Then we split over to this new channel for the podcast, and already it's a brand new channel, fresh, right? But we're already getting 200 to 300 videos.
With only like 160 subscribers, right?
Yeah, with almost no subscribers comparatively, and it's mostly going through discovery, rather like like the viewers are coming from YouTube more broadly rather than from our subscriber pool.
And the metrics overall on any video are way better,
and the engagement's way higher. Yeah. So the overall effect is we went from having 15,000 subscribers to 0 for the podcast on YouTube.
So we're building back up.
We're building back up, and we're already getting more. Like we're already the outcome is already better than it was where we were, and it looks like the outcome on our actual game content on the main channel seems to also be benefiting from not having this conflict.
Which is also to say, like if you're interested in doing like a developer log or something like that on your YouTube channel, but also then using that channel for like your big promotional things. Maybe don't do that,
hard,
right?
Yeah.
Because like your developer stuff is for a different audience. And if it's like long form, you'll see people like they'll do like a developer stream or something. It's like 4 hours long and they're just like chatting and programming or whatever. Most people are not going to watch that who are interested in your game, and so you might accidentally be harming the reach of your channel by mixing all these totally different
And,
things.
like, this- and I think, and we know this also because this is one of the biggest complaints from YouTubers who do YouTube for a living, right? Is they're like, oh, I want to be able to talk about this, but every time I do, all my numbers start going down, right?
You got basically anything different from what you've been doing, you need to put on a different channel, basically.
Yeah, it's like, and you'll see that like all the professional YouTubers basically have like multiple channels for each of their kinds of content that they do different things for.
So one of the things you'll see then is like you'll need to put out a couple of videos, right? To this point, a couple of shorts typically before you start seeing like really good results because, like unless the thing just works, magically for you. Because again, like YouTube's just figuring out what the fuck you're doing, right? What's the channel about? Basically, we know within a couple hours if we did a good enough job with the video itself, and that's the only piece of peace we get to have, and then we get the final question. Right, which is, let's say it's been 4 or 5 days. You've got like 10,000 views, something like that. Does it translate into anything for you on whatever platform the game is on? This is the final question, and I feel like one that's like you need to make sure this is looped in. This is happening for you because it is entirely possible to make a game that like does really well on YouTube Shorts. Does really well on TikTok, or you've seen these games in the past, like some indie games that do really well on Twitter, right? Anytime we put out a tweet, it's like tons of retweets, but then it sells like shit, right?
Right, because
These are still
the stuff that you're making is entertainment. Like good marketing
Yep.
material is entertainment content, right?
Yes,
And it's that first and foremost. And the question is it just entertainment, or is it also a sales pitch that people buy into, right?
Is it translating well enough
Yeah.
into actual like wish list data for you or activity somewhere for you, right? And this was one of those, I think the most interesting from our experience so far is while we've been doing these How Many Dudes shorts, we also were like, oh shit, great, we could use this to sell, Crashlands 2, we could sell Levelhead. And so we did make some Levelhead shorts, some Crashlands 2 shorts. They did fine, actually. There's like, again, that engagement rate, stick rate, whatever. Nothing, no crazy numbers on them, but like, I think a few of them.
We only did a few, and we didn't do this level of investment that we're doing for How Many Dudes of like, okay, let's figure out exactly what's going on, try to come up with something. And it's harder to do for those two games by a mile than it is for How Many Dudes.
But part of the reason was because with How Many Dudes, with that one that we just sort of slung up, we could see in the wishlist data immediately a spike. Like, I think the first video that we put up had like a 200 wishlist spike.
Yeah.
Right.
And to be fair, our daily wish lists were really low, so it's easy to see a spike versus Crashlands 2. Which has a solid baseline, still, even post-launch, is a solid baseline wishlist rate. So you need more getting over there to be able to see it.
But the thing is, like, even if you're getting 300 wishlists a day passive, you would see a spike of 200. Like, you
exactly.
you'd see it.
And so the numbers aren't so big that we shouldn't be able to see anything, right? If there's some translation from the short form video to the actual store. And so what was fascinating was that with Levelhead and Crashlands, even though we did manage to put videos together that did comparatively well, a few of them even better than some of the How Many Dude shorts. Whenever we put one out, we cannot see an impact.
It does not bring traffic to Steam.
Yeah, and so it's like there's a lot of possibilities there. One is that the games are out on a lot of platforms. So unlike How Many Dudes, where it's like it's just on Steam. So like if someone's gonna get it, they can only go there. It's also you can only wishlist, right? There's just one metric.
Yeah, and also the games are already out, and we don't know how YouTube decides to show stuff to people, right? Because like when we made those videos, we told YouTube, hey, this is a Crashlands, because you can tell it like what game it's associated with, right? Mm-hmm. So we're like, hey, this is a Crashlands video, right? So, or this is a Levelhead video. Like, does that mean that YouTube's like, cool, I'll show it to people who I already know are into Crashlands?
Already like it, yeah.
Yeah. In which case, they're not going to go wishlist it. They already have it or decided not to. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's a bunch of questions about like what exactly it means. But in any case,
the question of like, is it good to say, because you have that option on your video to be like, oh, this is a How Many
associated with
video,
a game,
right?
Yeah.
Is that actually good? Because does that narrow your audience to only people who've already seen it? If you're in the phase like we are right now with How Many Dudes, which is
trying to build.
We need people to know it exists so they can decide if they're into it, right?
Yeah, I will say we experiment with that, and we currently are not saying that it's part of a game. Yeah, like in that little distinction box. For exactly that reason, because it's very unclear if that would be limiting or. I guess it seems
it's
more
hard
like
to imagine it
being
being a positive because it's like, how would YouTube use that in a way that benefits us, right?
Yeah, in this like early phase, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so then what we saw with regards to Crashlands 2 and Levelhead was no no obvious pickup. And again, it might be just the spread problem where it's like people did see it, but they're on iOS, Android, Switch, and
Well,
Xbox.
there's something else is tons of the comments on those videos from people talking about how they love that game and they've already played it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
I think
that
YouTube
was the
is showing
weirdest
it to
one.
people who already have it. I think
Which is a challenge of like, if your game is already out and has an audience and you're trying to use YouTube Shorts to expand the audience, there's a decent chance that somehow or another, Google, YouTube, knows whether people have played that game or not. And if they've played it, it'll show them videos about it. And if they haven't played it, it won't, right?
Yeah.
And
Which-
so
and again,
it
like,
just keeps
'cause-
going to the
because-
same people
yeah.
over and over again.
Because the goal of these algorithms is to maximize engagement, right? And so
Yeah.
who's more engaged in content about a game than the people who
Then
play that
fans
game
of
and
the
are into
game.
it.
And, yeah.
And so that's one of those traps that we're being conscious of and trying to avoid, you know, to
Mhm.
we don't want to fall into that where it's just, oh yeah, this person should interested in how many dudes, does videos about how many dudes. YouTube knows here's
That's the only person who
20,000
gets the
people who
video
are watching
now.
these.
Yep.
that's all it sends to, and then that's it. Yeah, so it does seem like, because I do wonder, like if we were to put up some, now that we've learned all this stuff, if we were to put up some news shorts about Crashlands 2, even Levelhead,
Mhm.
would we see different outcomes than we did when
Yeah,
we
potentially.
were using all that stuff?
Yeah. And so I think it's like, so then that just goes back to the fact that like, Crashlands 2 wasn't designed again with this kind of media in mind. So it's harder to make stuff for, right? It's easier. Time is just much easier to make things for in this context. These silly questions, right, that come up during dev. And so basically you need to be able to tell, you put the short out, it got some views, and those views translated into some kind of action for you. If it's broken along any part of that pipe. So once you're able to make an engaging video. So I think that's the first one, is like, if you can't make an engaging video where you put a short up and like it just can't get above like 50%. No one seems to give a shit about this. Okay. Very important piece of information for you to know. So
Yeah.
you either
That
need to change the
means either-
visuals or your
yeah.
videos are bad, right? It's like the first 3 seconds are bad. If the retention is really good, but the first 3 seconds are bad, that might just mean that like something about it doesn't look the way people care about, or your hooks aren't good, whatever. So you have to distinguish between information that's about the video and information that might be about the game, right?
Yep.
And this is kind of what we're trying to do by walking through these various analytics bits. So
Yeah, and that's the nice thing too when you get that eventual analytics stuff, like here's people stopped watching and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's really helpful feedback, inferred feedback of like, okay,
Mhm.
well, when I did this in the video, people stopped watching. So
maybe don't do
why? Why do I think
Yeah.
that might have happened? And maybe that I won't do that anymore. But I did just think of that whole again the idea of like connecting a video to the game, because
Mhm.
so YouTube generates automatically generated channels for each game that it thinks exists.
Yeah, like topics,
They-
right? They call it
Yeah,
topics
they don't
or-
tell
yeah.
you. So it's like it's its own channel managed by YouTube automatically, right? That YouTube doesn't tell you how it decides if a game exists, but I'm assuming it pulls from Steam or whatever, because the copy it brings over is like the same as the
Same.
Steam short
Yep.
copy, right? So YouTube is just kind of doing this in the background once it thinks a game exists, and then it creates a page for it, and it tries to then be like, here are like the popular videos about this thing, right?
Mhm.
So again, once that exists for your game, then you can say, oh, this video is linked to that. There's this discovery problem, which I think it's probably risky to do that for the reasons we talked about. However, once a video looks like it's done getting juiced,
You can put
if
it
you
in
then link that, then that basically makes it that page that you have that YouTube's auto generated, because that gets shown underneath your videos, right? Like on desktop at least,
Mhm.
there'll be a little thumbnail that's like, hey, this is about this game that you can click over to and go see that game, right?
Go see other stuff related to it. It helps
Yeah, this would be a
tighten it.
way.
Yeah.
This would be a good way for you to curate what content goes on there, because then you can take your best performing shorts, your best performing videos. Once YouTube seems to not give a shit about them anymore,
then
and
link them
then
to the game.
basically
Mm.
pin them to
Yeah.
that automated
Yeah, we'll
channel,
try
so
that.
that now if people
Yeah.
click through it, then they get to see only the
Good
best stuff, right?
Yeah, so that's something we could definitely try. But as far as other analytics and that we care about and what we've seen, and this I'm telling you this stuff because we don't have benchmarks for this. All we know is that, again, in terms of like energy that we're putting in versus actual resulting wish list and interest in the game that we're getting out, this has been the most performant we've ever gotten anything to be, right? In the history of our studio. That's why I'm already talking about it, but I want to share the benchmark data because we don't have any ourselves. And
I'd love to hear yours.
Would love to hear yours. And I think this also gives you a way to understand, like, is my video doing well, or is it doing well for me? Right. So the other things we look for then are when we're getting those views, no matter how many views you get, how many subscribers are you gaining to your channel per 1,000 views of a video, a short. So in our case, anything above 1, I'm like, good. Anything below 1, I think a video's probably dead in the water. There's like no way. Even if the engagement's high or whatever else. Maybe people stick around and watch it, but they're like, I don't give a fuck.
Right, yeah, because the subscribe is people saying, I want more of this.
I want more. Yes.
Which means that's also the kind of person who wants the game.
It oddly almost like reflects the wish list conversion rate.
Yeah, it's actually really similar.
You know,
it's very close.
Yeah.
And so
actually,
one per 1,000
once you have a bunch of videos, you can't really break it because again, there's like splash damage. Like one video gets popular, all the other videos get watched, so you can't tell where people are coming from once they land in Steam, right? So you can't do attribution of like, oh, this video did that. But I would bet if you could, that subscriber rate on your video probably is like on a per video basis, like whatever that rate is probably just like literally the rate with some multiplier.
It has, it actually has almost exactly mapped on to the wish list rate.
Yeah,
if I think about the different videos, like if we get like 250 subscribers from a video, we probably got 250 wish lists from that video.
That's true. Yeah, that's probably true. But we might need to look at that actually because that seems.
Yeah, because I think it's pretty close. Actually.
It's like 1 in 500 to 1 in 1,000 seems to be kind of the range.
Around there, yeah. So if a video that we put out, if a short that we put out, does like around 1.5, that's like great. And then the ones that we put out that have those higher engagement numbers they start closer to like basically above 1.5 or close to 2 new subscribers per 1,000 views, right? So whenever I see that, when we like put a video out and the first couple thousand people come in, if I see we got 4 subscribers, I'm like,
this is good. This might go. It might.
It might.
It's looking promising.
Like, I think that also has to tell you too, is this video being shown to people who have already been seeing my videos, right? Because if YouTube is only showing it to people who have who are already basically your subscribers in essence, right? Or
they do show you like an actual like percentage breakdown of that. That gets pretty accurate, over time. So that's useful. But yeah, so that rate is one of them. And then as far as like average view duration, we're looking for like 85%. They watch most of the video, right? The vast majority of it. And then retention, I mean, we like to see the very front of a video just be up. Like I think the Vampire Farts one is up, it's like 160% or something starts there because people rewatch it.
Yeah, because as the same person watches past the end of the video, it loops, and they continue watching. In some cases, they watch the whole video twice. Yeah. Right. There's a lot of like cheesy shit that people do where it's like one of the weird things about shorts is because they loop like that. Then in some cases, you may like have something in the video that's purposely kind of like hard to tell what's happening or a little bit obscured or whatever. Because if people watch it again, they'll catch it the second time.
Or the ending is really abrupt.
Yeah,
you don't quite get enough time to see the final thing.
Yeah, that's something else. People will make a perfect loop where they'll end the video with half of a sentence and a shot that perfectly lines back up with the verse. So people watching.
I think those ones I think are kind of fun. Those are like the fun version. I think the ones that are annoying are where again you're opening a question and then you're giving an answer, but you gave the answer for like a quarter of a second at the end, so the people have to be like, God damn it, we watched this 45 seconds to get to see it.
I always, but every time I see it, it's like cute because they're like they end it with, and that's why, and then it goes to the beginning, and then they tell you a fact, right? Mm-hmm. Like those ones, I'm just like, oh, nice.
Yeah, but but you'll see like sometimes you'll see like a viral video where it's like it'll be like, oh, here's one of these like oddly satisfying videos where somebody's like, oh, I'm power washing this garage or something, and they show all this process, and the whole time you're watching, again, like back to the idea of a hook, you're like, oh, I can't wait to see what this thing looks like at the end. And then they'd be like, and it's done, and you get a quarter of a second of like just a real quick shot, and then it goes right back, and you're like, oh man, I wanted to see more of that, and you'll rewatch the whole video.
Yeah, we're not trying to do those because those are just, I mean, they feel annoying, but like the loop ones are cute. We haven't tried that. We haven't managed to get one of those to work yet. So I do want to try one of those and see kind of how that works. But yeah, so there's like, those are the main things we look for then. So it's like that subscriber per view count thing. And then again, can you see it in your wishlist data? Right. And all these things they're all bits of information, and none of them by themselves is the thing. And that's like really important. Like it's easy to obsess over like how many views did it get, swipe away rate, whatever else. But like even the last ones we just put out had a much lower like stick rate, for people than the previous ones, and I was like, oh, this is probably gonna cap at like 10,000 views. Like it's kind of dead. Still got like 60,000 views in it because its total duration was really, really good. people watched it. So again, it's a balance of all these things, and we got a lot of subscribers off it. So like, it's just a balance of all these things, and you can't know exactly what that's going to mean until after the fact, right?
But
you
but
can.
also, there's a question about like, are we, because we had a video now that like is pushing 1 million views about how many dudes and it's tagged a certain way and stuff like that, then will future videos kind of get the benefit of the doubt from YouTube?
I think
where,
it's kind of
like-
what happens as you build up more. Yeah.
Yeah.
Larger people
Yeah.
talk about that because as you get like a dozen or 2 dozen of these things going, you know, the channel gets more trusted.
And
so,
that is generally like how any algorithmic discovery system works. It's positive and negative feedback loops, right? So as things are behaving the way that the system wants them to, then it will
They
continue to build and amplify.
Yeah.
As things start to not do what it wants it to, they'll start to
The
rapidly
other-
wind down the other way, right?
Yeah.
And that's why
So-
these things are so fickle. Is like you'll have something that does amazing, and then you make something that feels like I basically did the same thing, you know, and
Mhm.
it'll do really poorly, and then you might find yourself kind of digging out of a little bit of a hole, you know. And so this is a process that is extremely fickle,
Mhm.
and you want to make sure you're not just like this one video performed terribly, and then that's the only thing you could think of and focus
Yes.
on. You know, you like do your best to take a lesson out of each thing, success and failure, right? And try to use the thing that you think is true the next time,
Mhm.
right? But never assume that the way you think it works is the way it works because you know too little. There's no way to know.
And it's changing all the time in the background.
It's changing all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So our
And so
approach
you just
then with
gotta
that
keep
is-
it's a stick to itiveness thing. You just gotta keep on
Yeah.
doing it.
we just say
Keep
like
on doing the
we're
experiments.
trying to make one a week, basically. You know, whenever we have an idea for one that sounds like it'd be funny or fun to make, then we throw it in the pile, and then when it's that day, it's like, all right, let's try and figure out, can we make 2 or 3 of them? Can we make one? Like, can we get a couple? And then I think having that little pause time in there is actually really useful because it lets you see more of the actual result of a thing, you know, typically after like a week, and then lets you kind of recalibrate as you go into the next one. But it's also then nice to work in batches because you can do a couple different experiments with something, and then that just lets you triangulate a little bit more on what to do next. Because like, again, things can randomly happen that will completely derail what you think is like the best video you've made. Maybe you just tagged it weird, or it was the second one you put up, and YouTube was like, I don't trust this channel, fuck this.
Yeah,
I don't know, you
and it's also on the other side of this ultimately trying to figure out like what's happening on Steam when I do this, right?
Correct.
But there it's really easy to get confounding signals. So you also have to be careful about don't be overly sure about your interpretation of something that happens
Yes.
once it hits Steam. We ran into this just a couple weeks ago when we were attempting to do some ad driven stuff on our
Yeah.
YouTube trailer, the main YouTube, not shorts, right? And threw some money at it and just used YouTube's back end for doing promos, right? Instead of going through Google ads. So it's really easy,
Don't
but
do
there's no
that.
options. Don't do it
Just
is our
don't do it.
recommendation.
It's
But
trash.
yeah,
Yeah.
do not do that. And you know, we're getting views on the video, and it's like the numbers are going up, and we're like, cool, let's go look at Steam and see how that's doing, right? And we're like, holy shit, this is the first time like we got like, I don't know, we spent like $60 and got 200 wish lists or something like that.
Yeah, we were like, holy fuck, oh my
We were
god,
like,
we
oh,
made it.
that's the best. Like, ads have never generated anything for us, like in a meaningful way. We're like, holy crap, this is amazing. There was something a little off about the timing, but timing is confusing because like Steam's
Timing
using
and the
UTC
audience.
and
Mhm.
the audience was mostly from. No, for this one, this was a different.
The
This
tweet came
this
first.
was
Tweet came first.
oh, the
and Brazil
tweet.
came
Yeah,
after.
yeah,
Yeah, this
yeah.
is the
The,
tweet,
the
yeah.
audience was coming from Twitter.
Yeah,
We were
which we
like,
realized because then we were trying to figure out what's going on with like the timing was a little
Mhm.
off because it looked like we were getting a spike that
Before
lasted,
the
'cause
ad
like,
spend happened.
yeah, the
basically.
ads went out for like a 1 hour period, but the spike lasted for like 2 hours. And like, that's not how ads work on YouTube. Like people see
Mhm.
it and then
Yeah.
it's gone. Right. So we're like, that's a little weird, but it's so easy to explain away confusing stuff when you don't have access to all the information. But then we're digging through Steam's traffic breakdown and it was
Mhm.
like, hey, almost everybody who visited the page that day came from Twitter. We were like,
yeah.
The fuck?
the heck? This wasn't
So we
Twitter
started,
ads.
we started searching around, Googling, like digging through Twitter for how many dudes, and we found it.
Yeah, just some random what do you call it? I was gonna say channel.
It's
some
basically a
random
trailer, like
account.
indie trailers account sort of thing.
Yeah,
posted about
they
it.
just post like a few indie games
They
a day.
took our trailer and they're like, "Hey, this seems cool." And
Yeah.
Yep.
that was it. That was basically the whole tweet.
Yeah, and it generated a few hundred wish lists just on the same day that we were trying an ad experiment, right?
Very
And,
confusing. But I think this also is a fun note, which is like kind of broadly then, if you start seeing pickup from other sources, right? So like you put out some YouTube shorts for whatever reason, like all this stuff has happened there's been more sort of organic random bullshit happening during How Many Dudes development as far as getting attention on the game than ever happened with like Crash Bandicoot 2 stuff, right?
Yeah.
And they're got to be related because people are seeing the stuff more because of the shorts, right? But we had this tweet go out that did really well for us, and there's a wish list. And then importantly,
not our
we went,
tweet. Somebody else.
not our tweet. Yeah. We went and we looked at the account. We said, okay, there's another fun question for you. How well is that thing, that tweet about How Many Dudes doing relative to other things that this person posts about? Right. And it was like one of the top ones in the last like 30 days. It's in like the top tier category of like overall responsiveness.
It was like top 5%, right?
Right. Yeah. And so we look for the same thing then if a YouTuber covers it wherever else. How well does this do on their channel relative to the other things that they post? Is it
because we had a
more
random
normal?
Brazilian channel do a thing about How Many Dudes, and it's the best performing video.
It is now the best performing video on that guy's channel, and like of all time. And he's been doing it for like 3 or 4 years. So that's a very good signal. All those things they're just more signals for us where we're like, okay, this is like
game's got legs. It's
got some
resonating.
legs.
And
Yeah,
again,
that's
this
what
is
you
the
want to find
idea that
out.
we talk about of like doing this, like they're talking about in the last episode of like why do this during development, why integrate development, and so on, right? Is because getting these signals now means we can tell we're on the right path. We can adjust the path as things are going on. And also now with this game, we're starting to see like what it can look like when things look like they're going
Working.
well, right?
Yep.
And so now we have this as a benchmark for the next game where we can say, okay, well, we know what it looks like when it seems like we hit on something that we can market, right? And now we have the reference point for the next thing when we start doing it. If we can't get any of this stuff to happen, if we can't get any YouTube Shorts to perform, we can't do anything, right? Then again, there's a lot of possible explanations for that. One is we could just be worse at making content for that thing, right? But the other one is like, oh crap, we're just making the wrong thing, right?
Yeah. Which means like giving yourself that willingness to just say, you know, I like our studio, like we announced that we're working on this next game. We put out a bunch of stuff about it. Nobody gave a shit. Scrap it.
I don't care.
Nobody cares if you're like, but we said we're going to make it. We got to commit. Like if nobody cares about the game, nobody's going to care that you canceled it and that you decided to do something else. It's fine, you know?
So yeah, I think that's kind of like the nutshell thing to the benchmarks, the how to do it, kind of what we look for. I hope it's been useful. I hope we could do something with it. And if you have numbers you want to share with us, feel free to dump them in the comments, honestly, or send them to us directly. And because I'm just curious, we're not publishers. We don't have a lot of data on this. Again, this is also more of our first time really trying to do it. And we've only put out like 10 videos, 10 shorts for How Many Dudes or something like that. It's not that many.
I don't think even that many.
Yeah. So it's like, we're still figuring
learning
it out. This isn't like exactly how you do it, you know. It's just like
we wouldn't have made this at all if we were still figuring it out and hadn't seen any success. Right?
Correct.
But
it's just that it seems like it's working.
The
and we still don't know what we're
surprising
doing.
thing has been, given again, we've been doing this for more than a decade. It's been constantly, consistently, the whole time. The worst, most difficult part of the struggle of making games for a living has been getting people to care that you're doing that, right? And this is the first time with this like whatever 2-month period where we've made a handful of videos where we are getting to see, while we're getting to control it, we're getting to see people care, right? And we're getting to learn ways that actually seem to be effective to make people aware of the thing that we're making in a way that they care about. And so we're like, well, we can go and start talking about this now because it seems like this might be How Many Dudes specific, and maybe we'll never pull this off again. That's also possible, right? But while we're doing it and finding some success, it's worth sharing and talking about it, especially because, like Sam was saying, we don't know what everybody else is doing and like what they're seeing. And if we tell you what we're seeing, then you can tell us, actually, no, I've been doing the same stuff and I get like 1 view each time, you know, like that's helpful information for us and for the broader.
You guys got like a 1 in 1,000 wish list to view ratio. That's trash. I got
it might be.
Fuck. Okay.
Like, oh damn.
Wow. Whatever your game you're making sounds good. Sign me up. You know?
Yeah, we could be doing better or worse than we should be. We have no idea. And so
we indies, indies together strong.
That's right.
So all right. Well, that's all the time we have for this week. I hope that was all useful for everybody. We'd like to thank our producers, Fat Bard and Zampa Acosta, for putting the podcast together. And thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. Get more involved in the Butterscotch community. Just go to podcast.bscotch.net, where we have links to the Discord, a way for you to donate to support the podcast, and links to the archives. We'd also like to thank our recurring supporters who are donating over at moneygrab.bscotch.net. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And if you'd like to support us in other ways, go ahead and like and subscribe on these videos. We appreciate that. Also,
and don't have already swiped away when we started this. Speaking of swipe away rates, are you still here?
Are you still here?
Swipe
I hope
away?
so. Yeah. Also head over to Steam, give How Many Dudes a wish list. We've also got lots of other games, Crashlands 2, Crashlands Levelhead. We got games on Google Play, the App Store, Nintendo Switch, Steam, Xbox. Just there, we're everywhere. So pick up our games. We'd appreciate it. All right. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.